This is a Lead Well with Jacqui mini episode. 3 signs that you're holding on to a goal for the wrong reasons. If you haven't already, this is off the back of my previous episode, which is that you are allowed to change direction. That will give you all of the information. But if you have a decision in front of you today and you want a quick little framework or some prompts or some one-way coaching, this is the episode for you. We're going to talk about the 3 signs that you are holding on to a goal for the wrong reason. Now, there is a difference between perseverance and attachment. We often will look at and admire perseverance without questioning it, without seeing whether it's still right for us. We go, wow, that person is so committed. My challenge to you today is, are you continuing because the goal is still right and the goal still matters to you? Or are you continuing because stopping feels too uncomfortable? Are you continuing because the goal still matters or because stopping feels too uncomfortable? Now, caveat here, one sign, one indicator, one challenge in isolation, one sense of discomfort does not automatically mean quit. But it does mean that the goal deserves an honest review. I want you to consider these 3 potential signs that you are holding on to something that is no longer serving you, and then assess whether it is the right thing for you. Sign number 1, your main reason for holding on to this goal is how much you have already invested. How much time, money, effort, sacrifice. What about your reputation? You've put so much emotional effort and energy into it. If you have thought to yourself, I've come too far to only come this far, or I've come too far to stop, I've put in too much effort to leave it here, that indicates that you may be allowing the sunk cost, which is the resource that you have already invested, you may be allowing that cost to make the future decision. But that's the thing with a sunk cost. It's sunk, it's gone, it's spent, and it is never coming back. Past investment cannot be recovered by making a poor future investment. If it's wrong, it will continue to be wrong. So ask yourself these questions. If I was deciding today, without having invested anything, would I still choose this? An example of this is, let's say you've been working in a particular role for years. I had a client recently who had resigned after 2.5 years and couldn't get over the fact that it was such a waste of time and that it was a failure. But when I said to her, if someone offered you your current job today in the exact form that it currently is, would you accept it? And she said, oh, no, God, no. That tells you that you might be allowing that sunk cost to inform the future choice. Whether it's continuing a qualification that you no longer want, staying on a career path because you've spent years building it, keeping a business offer or a project or a strategy alive just because of the work that's already been completed. The time that you have already spent is gone either way. The decision is where you want to spend the next year. Sign number 2, that you are protecting your identity or reputation. That you are holding on to this particular goal because you are concerned with what letting it go will mean for others' impression of you, your self-identity, or the reputation that you hold. If stopping feels like it would mean that you have failed, that you lack discipline, that you are poor at making decisions, that other people will start to question you, then the goal may have become part of the story or the self-identity that you're telling yourself about yourself, or the story that you tell about others. So an example might be, well, let me use a real personal, let me give some vulnerability here. I was offered a head of marketing role, an executive sort of ELT role. And at the time, I didn't accept it for reasons. When I reflect back, sometimes I think, ooh, I regret that. I should have accepted it. However, the regret comes from how good that role would look on my CV and what others would think of me in terms of status and my capability. I knew it wasn't the right role for me. I still know that it wasn't the right role for me, or more that I wasn't the right person for the role. So you need to make sure or check yourself, is this goal becoming part of the story that I tell about myself? Am I incorporating or enmeshing this role or this decision or this goal into my identity? And am I okay with that? So you may be protecting your identity or reputation if you no longer deeply want this goal, but you want to remain someone who finishes, succeeds, or follows through. So you're worried about what stopping may say about you to others. This can be especially powerful for leaders because change of direction can feel like a loss of authority or a loss of credibility or a loss of influence. But credibility is not built by pretending every decision is right and will remain right. Our credibility is strengthened by showing judgment, humility, and adaptability. So if you're a leader and you're concerned about changing direction, as long as you have some humility, communicate why you're changing the direction, help people to understand, then what you're actually doing is further embedding a psychologically safe culture where people are allowed to redirect, fail fast, and then move on to better uses of time, energy, and resource to achieve end results. I'm sure we have all reported to someone or have an anecdote or a story of a leader that we've worked with who white knuckles, nope, we're still going to do this, it's still the right thing, when everyone else in the business is going, this is not the right thing. But so-and-so said we have to do it, so we'll do it. A reflection question for you here. If no one else knew about this goal, would I still want it? Would I be chasing the same goal and expending the same resource and energy if I was doing so in the shadows? Am I protecting the outcome or am I protecting how I want to be perceived? Because if the outcome is no longer right, but you are still chasing it, then that will indicate that you are prioritizing how others perceive you over the outcome. Changing your mind doesn't automatically mean that your original judgment was poor. You made the best decision you could with the information you had then. Now that you have new information, strong leadership and strong character sees us making the next best decision based on the information we have today. Sign 3 that you may be holding on to a goal for the wrong reasons is that achieving the goal would no longer feel like success. Maybe the goal is still possible and still pretty impressive, but it's just not aligned anymore. Maybe you're making progress. Maybe you're training for a marathon and your time's getting better, your training is on track, but you're feeling increasingly depleted. It's feeling disconnected from your values. You're feeling less present in your own life and more resentful. This reminds me of a client that I had a couple of years ago who told me all of the wonderful things that she's doing and all of the great things that she's a part of. And I said to her, okay, I'm hearing all of these great, wonderful things and, you know, these different teams and groups and things that you're a part of. Where are you in all of that? And this gorgeous client, I'll never forget, just burst into tears because she wasn't anywhere in it. She was facilitating everyone else's growth and project and goals. And this was both in work and outside of work, but had realized all of a sudden that none of those goals were her. She was no longer the central character in her own life. She was no longer connected to her values. She was supporting those around her in connecting to theirs. So this is where the question is not only can I achieve it, but do I still want the life attached to it? So if the goal that we're talking about is a particular job or role, the question might move away from can I do this job to do I want to be the version of myself that does this job. A promotion, target income, business goal, personal milestone can look really good externally, but can carry a really significant cost that you just don't accept anymore. You might have got to your income goal, but you are now working 70 to 80 hours a week. You're missing out on all of the stuff, family outside of work. You're feeling exhausted. You're putting on weight. You don't have any time to exercise anymore. So that original goal may actually have taken you away from the person that you choose to be. The delineation here, though, is, am I uncomfortable or am I misaligned? Because growth can be hard and should incorporate some discomfort as we move out of our comfort zone. Temporary effort is sometimes necessary, but it's when it gets chronic, when we are chronically depleted, when we are seeing a real pattern of things that are moving us away from who we want to be, when we are feeling diminished, that's the difference. So ask yourself this: if I achieve this exactly as planned, will I actually want the life it creates? Is this stretching me or shrinking me? An example of this was, I had a goal of a certain number of coaching clients a week and a certain number on my books and a certain number of, workshops. I had very clear objectives, very clear numbers. And I got to a point at the end of 2024 where I thought, God, I'm tired all the time. I'm really short-tempered. What is going on? And then I realized that I was living the life that was my goal. I had achieved. I was meeting or exceeding every target that I had set for myself, and I was exhausted. I couldn't hold that much space for that many people every single week, week after week. And so I achieved the goal exactly as planned, but it turns out that I didn't want to live the life that I had created. And so I was able to reassess and make a change. So what are those 3 signs? 1, you are mainly focused on what you've already invested, the sunk cost. 2, you are protecting your identity or reputation rather than prioritizing the actual goal or outcome. And 3, achieving the goal would no longer actually feel like success. They are 3 signs that you are holding onto the goal for the wrong reasons. Your opportunity here is to figure out, do you want to continue? Does the goal still matter and the evidence supports it? So it's a continue. This is a season. I'm going to work through it. Do you need to change? The goal still matters, but the way that I'm achieving that goal isn't aligned and I need to find a different path or a different strategy. Or do you need to let go? If you're mainly holding on to a goal because of the sunk cost, fear, or an outdated definition of success, it may be time to let that goal go. So think of one goal that you're pursuing and complete this sentence really honestly. I am still holding on to this because. The aim is not to become someone who gives up when things get hard. The aim is to become someone who can recognize when persistence is serving our growth and when it is just simply keeping you stuck. This is a mini episode of Lead Well with Jacqui, so we will wrap there and I will see you next time.